More crackdowns on CB radio interference, and this time they've issued a citation, $25,000 fine to a man in Rockford for willfully interfering with CB radio transmissions. You don't even have to have a license to transmit on CB. It is citizens banned, but you can still get fined for it. Check this out. This story comes from RockfordScanner.com, and I went and found the FCC notices and FCC sections that it talks about in here. The title is, FCC has been in town and charges a Rockford man for jamming the airwaves. I read another story recently about someone transmitting more power than they were supposed to, and they're looking at that right now as well. More to come on that later. Read the article in full here, and it basically just kind of quotes the article. And this website looks like a ham radio club website because it's just kind of like front page 2000 looking. So we're going to go over here and look at the FCC communications. We propose a penalty of $25,000 against Jaime, maybe he pronounces it Jaime, John Leon, referred to as Leon, the owner and operator of a Citizens Band's radio service in Rockford, Illinois, for apparently engaging in unauthorized operation in violation of Section 301 of the Communications Act of 1934, as amended in Sections 95.933 and 95.957. Part 95 is the FCC part that regulates the CB radio service. So I went and looked up Sections 95.933 and 95.957. 95.933 talks about right here, in addition to the prohibited uses set forth in 95.333, 95.933, which is the one we're talking about today, station must not use a CB radio station to transmit one-way communications other than those permitted. One-way communication is basically to use it as a broadcast station, like you would turn on your AM and FM car stereo and listen to a one-way transmission. You're not allowed to just key down and start talking about whatever, anything, and just not, it's made for two-way radio. It's not made for one-way transmissions. Kind of hard to determine that sometimes, but that is what the rules say. To advertise or solicit the sale of any goods or services. To advertise political candidate. To communicate with stations in other countries except the general radio service and stations in Canada. Now, I would have questions about that. When I read that, I was like, wait a minute, hold on a second. Because people shoot skip on CB all the time and talk to other countries all the time. When I used to be heavy back into the CB when I was in college, we would talk to South America and other countries all the time because they were on the air and the bands were open, propagation was up, HF bands were hot, and we would hear them and communicate with them all the time. In fact, you would always, if the skip was up, that would be a thing, and like working DX in ham radio. So that kind of I would have to read more into that about Part D, Section 95.33, Part D, to communicate with stations in other countries. I don't know what that means exactly. So more to come on that later. And here's the Part F. E is to transmit communications of live and delayed broadcast on radio. So in other words, to retransmit copyrighted material. F is to transmit music, whistling, sound effects, or any other audio material to amuse or entertain. And G is to transmit any sound effects solely to attract attention. So that's the one they got him on right there. And it also details Part 95.957, and that part right here. 957 has three parts. Except as specified in B and C of the section, the operator must limit each on-air conversation with operators and other CBs to no more than 5 minutes. That's a rule they don't enforce. If you are keyed up on the CB and you have a 10, 15, 20, 30-minute conversation with someone, an hour-long conversation with someone, no one's going to come knocking on your door. I think they used instances of this where they can cite people for doing other things. Okay, they're like, well, technically it says you're not supposed to key up for more than 5 minutes, so you're not supposed to have conversations for more than 5 minutes. On-air conversation. It's not that he keyed down and didn't let off the key for 5 minutes. It's that he limit each on-air conversation with operators of other CB radio stations to no more than 5 minutes. I've done that 1,000 times. Not recently, but I've done that 1,000 times. So I think that's probably something they just have on the books where they can say, okay, well, you did this, so you're in violation. But if you're out there just having a casual conversation, they're not going to come knocking on your door, send you a letter in the mail over that. I don't think. When a CB operator is directly participating in emergency communications, it does not have to comply with paragraph of the section and link the transmissions. When an operator is using CB radio station to assist a traveler, it does not have to comply. Okay, so except for assistance of travelers and emergency communications, it doesn't have to comply with that. But regardless of that, I've still done that hundreds, if not thousands of times, because more than 5-minute conversations take place on the CB radio all the time, or at least used to. If you're driving down the road and there's another truck driver near you and you guys strike up a conversation, those conversations many times last longer than 5 minutes. So I thought that was a strange thing to be in the regulation, but okay. Again, it's like spitting on the sidewalk. They're not going to fine you for that, but if they see you do that, they can say, oh, well, you broke the law, so let's take a look in your car and see if we find any weed or pot illegal substances in there. Hopefully that won't be a thing much longer. The Commission's rules authorize the operation of CB radio stations without the grant of individual license. Citizens Band does not require a license. It used to back in like the 70s, 60s, and 70s. They removed that a long time ago. Conditioned on compliance with all applicable regulations. Subject to limited exceptions not applicable in this case, the Commission's rules generally prohibit the use of CB for one-way verbal communications, in other words, like radio-style broadcast transmissions. Limit conversations to 5 minutes in length, which again, I think is it's a little bit of a gray area at the very least. And prohibit the transmission of music, sound effects, etc. Yeah, so all those toys, all those CB radio toys that you hear on Channel 19 all the time, those are all illegal. Does anyone care? Channel 19's a dumpster fire on CB radio anyway, and GMRS is getting to be that way. Sidestep that comment. But does anyone care that Channel 19's a dumpster fire? Some people might. I don't know. Leon apparently violated the Act and the Commission's rules by using a CB station to make one-way transmissions and send non-verbal, indecipherable sound effects over long periods, thereby voiding his operating authority. Leon also apparently caused willful and malicious interference in violation of Section 333 of the Act. Such illegal operations pose a danger to the public because they can disrupt authorized CB uses, such as travelers needing assistance, warnings of hazards and conditions, reporting accidents, etc. Moreover, CB can be used by public service providers and first responders during natural disasters with other infrastructure and damage non-existent. So, Channel 9. We talked about that in a video a while back. Does anyone still use Channel 9? I would think so. This statement goes on for a while. I'm not going to read the whole thing to you guys, but I'm going to pick out the pieces I want. And I will link this in the description below so that you can go and read about this violation if you want to. Now, if you want to learn more about violations and just general overall radio regulations, visit hamradioprep.com, where you can save a 20% discount on all of their courses to get your ham radio license with the coupon code of Jason20. Ham Radio Prep offers licensed courses for technician, general, and extra, all 3 levels of ham radio. They offer a Baofeng Basics course. They offer a new HF course that tells you how to operate HF, how to find frequencies that are clear and whatnot if you want to get on the air for like parts on the air or de-expeditions or something like that. Really good courses, hamradioprep.com. They are a supporter of this channel, and I thank them for sponsoring this video. But if you want to learn all about ham radio and ham radio courses, visit the link below and be sure to use the coupon code of Jason20 to save a 20% discount. This section here got my attention. Leon has a history of non-compliance with Commission regulations. On January 19th in 1999, the Commission's former Consumer and Information Bureau released a forfeiture order imposing a $14,000 monetary penalty against Leon for the transmission of obscene, indecent, or profane words or language or meaning, and for failure to make his station records available for inspection, both violations of this Commission's CB rules. Leon did not respond to the forfeiture order nor pay the forfeiture amount. Okay. I wonder how well these citations and fines are regulated, or how well they're enforced. Subsequently, on March 1st of 2011, 12 freaking years later, March 1st of 2011, the Enforcement Bureau issued a notice of violation to Leon, stating that the Bureau agent monitored continuously transmitting music and sound effects from a CB station installed in a U-Haul vehicle, the same type of behavior at issue in the case in violation of the rules affecting obscene, indecent, profane language. Paragraph 8. We find that Leon apparently willfully repeatedly violated Section 301 of the Act of these sections. Although Section 95.305 authorizes a person operation CB without the grant of an individual license, 95.905 of the rules provide that such operating authority is automatically voided by the violation of any applicable rules. On June 21st in 2022, Leon apparently violated these sections again, and what the section we talked about today, by using his station to make a 30-minute one-way transmission comprised of nonverbal, indecipherable sound effects. On September 28, 2022, Leon claimed the source of the unauthorized transmission was a milk crate containing a battery-operated CB placed by an unidentified third party at the corner near his house. Okay, so he's blaming someone put a CB in a milk crate on my property, and that's what's causing those transmissions. Okay. Yeah. You've got like 24 years history of interfering on CB, and apparently the FCC has done nothing about it. Some of these comments on these videos I make, they're, the FCC is never going to do anything. Well, they do. They just don't enforce it very well. So, I don't know. If this guy ever wants to go get a passport and he sees these fines from the FCC on his record, there's no way he'd be able to get a job that requires some sort of background check or high secret clearance with the government. He's pretty much screwed himself from doing that at all. Even if he never pays it, he's got these citations on his record. So there's going to be some sort of something where this is going to come up later on in life, assuming that he's not 85 years old and just a grumpy old man today, which maybe he is. But the conclusion is, accordingly, after applying the forfeiture policy statement, section 1.80 of the Commission's rules, and the statutory factors, we have determined that Leon apparently willfully and repeatedly violated sections 301 and 333 in the sections of 95.9 through 95.950 of the Commission's rules. As such, Leon is apparently liable for forfeiture of $25,000. In order for Leon to pay the proposed forfeiture, he will have to notify the Office of Field Director, field@fcc.gov, his intent to pay, whereupon an invoice will be posted to the Commission's registration system at this URL. Upon payment, Leon shall send electronic notification of payment to the office. Payment of forfeiture must be made by credit card. It's payment by wire transfer, so it tells him how to pay. The Commission will not consider reducing or canceling the forfeiture in response to a claim of inability to pay unless the petitioner submits the following documentation. This PDF file doesn't necessarily say what happens if he doesn't pay at all. What's the point? Hey, go to this guy's house, knock on his door, ask for payment. If he doesn't pay it, put him in jail. How are you going to enforce these types of citations and notifications and violations? How are you going to enforce this if you just issue a statement saying you have to pay this money? Okay, see ya. It'll be 23 years later, you still haven't paid it. I think that the FCC needs to make an example of one or two of these guys who do this kind of crap. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to actually put you in jail. I don't know. Do you think this guy should go to jail? Do you think they should be more hardcore about actually citing him and collecting that money? What do you think? I'd like to know what you think. Put a comment below. Thanks for watching today.